King Feixiao has made her way to the creator experience server, so today I thought it'd be neat to share my initial impressions of the character after testing her out early, and test how well she plays with various different kinds of teammates. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. Big disclaimer, the content shown is from the creator experience server. The content is not fully indicative of the final product. There may or may not be changes in the version update. With that out of the way, let's dive right into testing, why don't we? This will be Feixiao's build. Take a good long look at her stats, breathe it all in. She'll be wearing her signature light cone throughout the entirety of this video. Note that every teammate that Feixiao works with in this video will be on an accessible 4-star light cone option. The Feixiao that I'm using is easy to improve upon, so know that your performance will most likely be better than what I'll be showcasing to you today. If you have further questions regarding Feixiao, drop them down below. I'll do my best to test out all of your queries and answer you in the comment section. I'm gonna test out Moze first because he's gonna be the latest 4-star that'll be coming out in Honkai Star Rail 2.5 that'll be available on Feixiao's banner. To quickly explain how he works and why you'd want to use him because he's new, he does a ton of lightning follow-up attacks which help Feixiao build up her ultimate stacks. He does these in very quick succession and can help trigger a ton of them in a row, so our favorite Yaoqing general will have ults for days. While doing this, he offers a bit of personal damage on top, and his skill marks down enemies as prey, which counts as a debuff. I have him activated at Eidolon 6. In terms of what his Eidolons provide him, his E1 gives him more energy, his E2 gives everybody 40% crit damage after everybody attacks the enemy that Moze has marked, increasing his personal damage. His E4 increases his damage dealt by 30%, so more for his own damage, and his E6 once again boosts Moze's damage output. I personally found Moze to be my favorite of all of Feixiao's follow-up attack-based teammates. He feels slick and intuitive to play with her, and I felt like I always had my Feixiao ults up 24/7 with this guy around. His follow-up attacks came so fast one after another when played with Feixiao as well, so his own damage contributions were pretty good. The skill point economy of the team also felt fine. It makes sense as to why he's on her banner, since he is absolutely more than suitable as a fine Topaz replacement if you don't have or don't want the IPC member. I'd say that he'll work just fine for Feixiao at E0. Most of his Eidolons only serve himself, and to me, the best part about Moze is how quickly he does his follow-up attacks in succession to help Feixiao build up ult stacks. Though I will say that his E2 buffing everybody's crit damage by 40% is a really solid buff, especially since you want to build Feixiao on pretty high crit rate, as close to 100% as you can get, because of how much of her DPS is packed into multiple large hits. It's a big DPS loss to not crit any one of them, so Moze's E2 can cover that. But if you simply have good enough relics on your Feixiao, you're not gonna have an issue with that anyway. Regardless, his E2 is still a nice buff. All of Moze's other Eidolons mostly serve his own damage, which aren't necessary by any means, as Feixiao is the hypercarry here after all. You'll be delighted to know that, while yes, I do think that his Eidolons provide him with plenty of quality of life, that's pretty much the case for any 4-star. And I believe him to be functionally sound for her at E0. I wouldn't proclaim him as Feixiao's best overall follow-up attack partner, even at E6. That award will be going to the next unit that I talk about. He is just my personal favorite in terms of gameplay feel across both Apocalyptic Shadow and Memory of Chaos. Topaz is Feixiao's premium follow-up attack teammate. And oh boy, does the gameplay make it feel that way. She offers plenty of debuffs to her, and Feixiao can trigger plenty of her own follow-up attacks, increasing the team's overall damage output. It's a very mutually beneficial relationship. Topaz's follow-up attacks obviously benefit Feixiao by helping her build up more ult stacks, but that shouldn't be very surprising at this point. The kicker here, however, is that Topaz generates Feixiao's ult stacks the fastest out of any other follow-up attack partner for Feixiao, with Moze being the second fastest and Hunt 7th being the third, at least in my experience. That doesn't mean the other two are bad by any means, it simply means that Topaz comes out on top when it comes to Feixiao's overall team performance. Based on my early impressions playing the character, I definitely say that Topaz is one of her best partners in crime, offering a fast-paced playstyle with tons of benefits. I do want to add that Topaz herself has amazing options for vertical investment in a Feixiao team. Yes, the gameplay footage shown presents a C0 Topaz with a 4-star light cone. However, you can very easily improve this team by pulling for both Topaz's light cone and her E1. Neither are a necessity by any means, but I felt like it would be good to mention the additional potential that she has stored within her gameplay. I found her to be delightful in both Apocalyptic Shadow and MOC, though, as you'd expect, Apocalyptic Shadow feels better thanks to Feixiao feeling more like an Apocalyptic Shadow-centric character. I definitely want to give Hunt 7 her flowers as well, because holy heck, she is a freaking great character with Feixiao. I'd like to mention that this March is E6, but you should keep in mind that the last of Hunt 7's 3 Eidolons will be available in 2.5 for free. Hunt 7th doesn't apply any debuffs like Moze or Topaz, nor does she generate stacks as fast as either of them, but what she lacks in those abilities, she makes up for in really solid personal DPS. It's the main reason as to why you'd want to use Hunt 7th with Feixiao. Her enhanced basic does really solid contributions, and they are absolutely not to be slept on. I did enjoy my time with the other two more, and I do feel like Hunt 7th offers less in her entire package compared to the others. But you have to consider that Hunt 7th is an absolutely free unit, and that alone makes her really decent performance feel even more commendable. Free-to-plays, you will be more than sorted with this character by your side. Topaz and Moze are not musts with this girl around. Plus, she still generates Feixiao a good amount of stacks, even if she isn't quick-firing them an insane amount. Before we move on to reviewing Feixiao's next potential teammate, I'd also like to highlight how March can increase the crit damage of Feixiao by a whopping amount, which is amazing for the same reason that I stated earlier when discussing Moze's E2. And I should also add that this is within Hunt 7's base kit, whereas with Moze, you need 2 copies of him in order to achieve this effect of 20% less crit damage. I'd say that if you don't have all copies of Moze, then Hunt 7th may actually feel better. It's also very realistic that you may not end up with an E6 Moze if you're only pulling for an E0 Feixiao, so keep that in mind when deciding who you're going to build as your Yaoqing General's main follow-up attack teammate. Robin is easily the greatest teammate for Feixiao on the whole, because she's what ties together this entire ensemble. She has a specific buff for follow-up attack based teammates, and yes, this obviously means that she's going to work wonders in a Feixiao team. Her buffs on the whole are extremely high value, but I don't think you need me to tell you that. Her advance forward also lets both your Feixiao and her follow-up attack teammate pop off many quickfire powerful attacks to build up plenty of Feixiao ult stacks before the enemies can even dream of moving. Robin will be rerunning in 2.5, her banner coinciding with Feixiao's. I will cover a fully free-to-play Feixiao team later on in this video, but it'd be disingenuous of me to not encourage pulling for Robin if you're interested in becoming a Feixiao main, because Robin will seriously elevate your experience. The main replacement that I can think of for Robin is Ruan Mei. This is because of a toughness bonus that Ruan Mei provides. Feixiao during her ultimate state can break weakness bars greatly, and Ruan Mei speeds up her break potential by quite a bit. This is not because Feixiao cares about breaking. No, not at all, really. The benefit that she receives from breaking is that Feixiao deals more damage to enemies that are weakness broken. This is where Ruan Mei's utility comes in. Not to mention all the other amazing buffs that comes with applying Ruan Mei to your team that we all know by now. Feixiao loves all of those goodies, of course. I will say that Robin definitely outclasses her in this team, as she is indeed the premium support intended to be played with Feixiao. This does not mean that Ruan Mei is not serviceable, and I myself was curious to test this out because I'm aware that there's many of you out there who do not have nor want a Robin. Not having Robin is not a deal breaker. You can still very much enjoy Feixiao as a character and enjoy very quick apocalyptic shadow clears even with Ruan Mei over Robin. The main difference is that Feixiao's best premium teams on lower end investment can clear in roughly 2 cycles and wipe apocalyptic shadow with ease, whereas if you use somebody like Ruan Mei, you can perhaps look at 3 cycles instead, which is still extremely solid considering the fact that this is all lower investment. I'll briefly discuss Best Boy over here. No other sustain works as well for Feixiao as he does, simply because he is follow-up attack central. He obviously helps Feixiao build up stacks, I don't think I even have to mention it anymore at this point. We all know what we want our teammates to do. He contributes a pretty solid amount, his protection is incredible as we all know, and another thing that I'd like to touch on is that he offers a debuff with his ult. He can increase the crit damage that a single enemy takes. This works pretty nicely for Feixiao, as her burst is completely single target locked. And of course, despite me playing on all 4-star light cones on Feixiao supports in this video, I'd like to mention that Inherently Unjust Destiny, said the full name because I think it's a cool name, offers a base chance to increase the damage taken by an enemy target after a follow-up attack. Do I have to explain why this is an absolutely amazing option in a Feixiao team? No other sustain does what Aventurine does. He is 100% the premium unit that you want to be using. Don't worry, I'll cover Feixiao's fully free-to-play team soon. Your alternatives would pretty much be Luocha since he's skill point efficient, Fu Xuan since she's an absolute tank. You get the idea. Any old sustaining alternative will do. But none of them will provide any specific value to Feixiao's teams in the way that he does. Then to discuss Feixiao's own playstyle. Very fun. Lots of single target DPS. Don't play her in pure fiction, you will hate yourself afterwards. She is the absolute queen of Apocalyptic Shadow and MOC, and while I personally consider her to be completely fantastic in both game modes, Apocalyptic Shadow certainly takes the cake for me, as her kit really feels like it was designed around working there. I personally consider Apocalyptic Shadow to be the hardest of all of 3 of Honkai Star Rail's big endgame modes, so if you're finding yourself having a hard time in Apocalyptic Shadow and to a lesser extent MOC, then Feixiao for sure has your back and will be a worthwhile pull. Also, I have no idea how Honkai Star Rail continuously outdoes themselves with these insanely cool ultimate animations. Obviously Feixiao is the best ult in the game, but it makes me wonder, how are they going to make the next characters look even cooler? Fantastic stuff and a great DPS in my opinion. Feixiao's complete premium team feels wonderful. It's very expensive as it consists of all 5 stars, but it's premium for a reason. While all the units shown here are E0 S0, aside from Feixiao who's E0 S1, you have so many pathways in order to make this team even better. E2 Feixiao, E1 Robin, E1 S1 Topaz, S1 Aventurine, all of which turn Feixiao into even more of a beast than she already is, which should feel impossible. If you get all these pieces to the follow-up attack puzzle, then you will be more than simply pleased. You will be positively astounded with how quickly this team can clear. She achieves 1 cycles in MOC easily with this team, and that isn't even her main intended game mode. Yet that is not to scoff at her fully free-to-play team of herself, Moze, Hunt 7th, and any sustain. We'll be using Gallagher in this case since he's been free multiple times in the past. This team is good. Like, for a free-to-play team, real good. Feixiao gets her old stacks back pretty quickly since she has 2 follow-up attack partners, everybody is kept alive, happy, and healthy, and it is a more than suitable free-to-play team for newer players or players who simply do not have or are not interested in the big follow-up attack 5-star units. You'll definitely clear with this team. I'd say that you can expect 3 to 4 cycles on average with this comp. This is essentially my way of saying, if you don't have all the big bad expensive 5-star characters, you don't have to worry about skipping Feixiao if you want her. Hunt 7th is free, Moze is on her banner and will be fine with at least 1 copy, and Gallagher has been free multiple times before in the past. Definitely a formidable team comp. Personally, I think she's really impressive. She's seeming like a real queen when it comes to all matter single target. I'm pretty happy with her kit, and I will most certainly have a ton more fun testing her out. I'm definitely satisfied with both her power level and her kit design. I also enjoy that she has a wide variety of teammates to play with and has an amazing gameplay feel. There's no clunk, and I honestly didn't experience any issues with skill points or dealing enough damage to clear within the recommended cycle time. Feixiao, even on cheap setups, exceeded the base requirements every time. Hopefully this video was able to give you an initial early look at Feixiao. This has been Juice, signing out, and the sickest thing about Feixiao is her awesome dual wielding. Look at her go, man! It's sick.